the slot after lunch is always the worst. People are tired, still eating, so thank you for joining. And I just realized the master class of Judith is running in parallel, which is pretty tough competition. Today, I want to share a little bit about agentic. In the morning in my keynote, I spoke about that 2026 is the year of AI agents. But what does that mean and how do we deal with that? So, first of all, we realized, we are a digital agency. We do consultancy, we do software development, and so on. But actually, in Germany, we have a saying, the shoemaker has the worst shoes. So we're like, okay, we are advising our clients, but in our company, we didn't do well. So we said we have to change that and to prove that this works. The reality is that at our company last year, when we looked at, we are running on the Google ecosystem, we have the typical stack, we have HubSpot, we have Slack, we have many, many SaaS tools, and they're all disconnected and not really, smart talking to each other. And we wanted to change that. So, but what does AI mean? What does it mean? It changes. So the old way is that we invest a lot of money, we build a lot of difficult systems, create a very large AI, and in the end, probably nobody would use it. The new way, the agentic way, is that we develop small specific agents which tackle very, very clear domain-specific tasks and have a measurable output. So you know exactly, this is going to be my investment, and this is what I get out of it. And that makes a lot of sense, because nowadays, also, if we would advise ourselves, it's very difficult to sell a company and say, like, you need to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a little bit of output, maybe, or maybe not. It's much easier to say, let's make small projects. It's very clear how much it costs, and this is what you're going to save or earn more. And that's a very good sales pitch. So what actually is agentic? Agentic is not a chatbot. So an agent is pretty much an AI workflow which does something. So there's a workflow and there's a little bit of AI and hopefully something smart happen. So in our case, we have a database or we have a natural language interface in Slack where you can say, I want this or I need that, yeah? And then there is an event. Something happened, an invoice came in, a CV, somebody applied for a job or whatever, and there is a logic, a workflow engine. In our case, we are utilizing n8n, which is one of the biggest workflow engines, but anything else is possible. It doesn't necessarily need to be n8n. And, there's an AI, there's some intelligence, and that actually is one big workflow which does something. And I also want to make clear, I hope we will have some time for questions later, but if you have questions, if I go too fast, let me know. So what it is pretty much, we have an AI agnostic solution, so you can use whatever AI you want. In our case, we decided that we run on the Google ecosystem, so Gemini it is. But it could be GPT, it could be anything else, it doesn't really matter. Then you have the orchestration, the workflow engine, which is n8n, where there's the logic. What should happen if this or that happens? And for sure, you need a database where you store your data warehouse, and that all delivers you one orchestrated process, which creates an agentic process. And don't worry, I will give you clear examples later, what we did and how that works, because I understand this is a little bit theoretical. However, we learned, we are I tend to think that we're still a startup. Probably we are not. We are here in Asia and in Middle East. We are around 320 colleagues. Globally, we are around 600 people. So probably not a startup. And we realized that even in-house, the data which we were working on were not good. And in IT, we have a saying, shit in, shit out. So if you don't have good data, you can have the smartest AI, there's not going to be any smart results. So how did we solve that? So first, we wanted to do AI, but first what we need to do, we had to clean our house. We need to clean our data because we are operating actually in 7 countries in 3 continents. And we realized that, for example, employees have an employee code. But an employee code in a financial system, there is a financial system in Egypt, there's a financial system in Vietnam, in Thailand, they use complete different formats. That's not the same employee code. So, and when you try to make a holistic solution, you realize, oh shit, we can't work like this. So it was actually quite a huge process to clean up our data first and say, like, we have one unique employee code, we know exactly, we have one unique client code because clients have been built out of Egypt, have been built out of Thailand, out of Germany. Man, it's normal. There are different legal requirements, there are different tax requirements, so, but that meant for us that we didn't have that in one proper database. And now we do. But it took a couple of months to clean that up before we could even think about using AI. And by the way, this is also what we see in most of our clients. People talk to us, hey, I need AI. And the very first thing is that most of the times we need to clean up the data first before you can even talk about AI. Next, let me give you an example of what we did. So the very first thing what we implemented, I promised you some example, is that we have, like most companies on earth, employee review process. So a couple of times a year, employees are reviewed. And in the old way, there's self-assessments and there is assessment from the manager, and you have a lot of boxes to tick, and then ideally you have a good manager, and the manager would tell you where you need to improve and where you are good, doing good and not good, and if you get a raise or if you don't get a raise. But we wanted to move that complete into an agentic way. So where we implemented a sort of a mini 360, so 3 persons, actually you make a self-assessment, the manager, and a third person would assess automatically through an interface the person, and then there is AI utilized to get a proper performance review and feedback given to the employee. And the interesting thing is that that works very well, but it was not perceived so well. Because like in the old way, there is often, we call it a favor economy. I scratch your back, you scratch my back. You give me a good review, and I give you a good review, okay? That's, I would say, the Vietnamese way, maybe the Egyptian way. We have that in a lot of countries. And that doesn't work with the machine anymore, yeah? So it's a lot more intransparent and a lot more fair, but employees were not necessarily a big fan. There was certain cultural resistance. There's a fear of judgment, yeah? Because if you suddenly get an objective, clear, measurable performance review, yeah? And the favor economy was broken because you can't really, well, you still can cheat, sort of, but it's not that easy anymore. And the system was a little bit too blunt, so we had to change. So when we rolled it out first, honestly, people didn't like it. And I understand. We tried to do better, and we learned, and we improved, but still. The important thing is that we are building a culture of excellence and not a culture of comfort. So we trade clarity and excellence for comfort and politeness. And if I might say, this is not connected to agentic, but if you have employees, this is what you need to do today too. If you have employees, you must make sure that the employees are good enough to go with you the extra way in the AI. And if people don't want to grow with you, if people don't want to learn with you, or people actively work against innovation, you should not have them in your company. So it sounds a little bit ruthless, but it works very well. So, because I'm good in talking and not so good in showing, my colleague Dung, I want to ask you on stage. He's the director of our OP&D department, and he will show you a little bit more what we have been doing so that you can understand a little bit better what it is about.
Thank you, Lars. Hello, everyone. So Lars already set a ground of how we started the idea of Agentic OS, and also how could Agentic OS could help Gradion to scale. And I'm about to give you, let's say, a small, like a thin slide of what we have done. So we have done quite a lot with the HR processes, and also a little bit about the finance, and we actually really still doing a lot of other agents for also sales and also in the engineering. But in this scope, I just try to make sure that we have enough time for two use cases that really relevant not only for Gradion but also for all of you. So first, I want to start with the CV screening. So every company need hiring, and at Gradion, we hire a lot. And every day, our team receives more than 200 CVs per day. And every TA executive, the talent acquisition executive, they need like 7 minutes per CV. So they need to read the CV, absolutely. They also need to extract information and then double check if the information is good, the company is good or not. And then eventually they need to write a feedback. So 7 minutes per CV. And let's say we have a team of 5 executives, and it would like cost 7 hours per day per executive, which is a lot. And not to mention that CV screening is only a very first step of our HR process, which is, well, it's a very long process, right? And that's why we decided to move from manual CV screening to screening with agent. And what we have. So we have 700 CV per day. Not a lot, right? But it's per agent. So it's one agent. They can process like double than what we need now. And we can easily add more agent. Actually, this is actually free. Just adding more agent in ANN is completely free. We just need to pay for more token consumed by Gemini. And absolutely, we become much faster, and we can handle more, a lot more capacity that AI can handle, because AI don't need to rest. AI don't need to sleep, right? And absolutely, AI can also achieve the higher quality, because CV screening can easily become boring for the human, because like just reading all the time, and then you need to check, write feedback. That's really time consuming and boring. For the same goal, for faster, larger, and higher quality, we can also apply the same for invoice extraction and categorization. I believe that you all have this in your organization. And we start with a manual. We can only afford 100 invoices per day. And after we change to Gemini, we upload the invoices to Gemini to extract information and categorize. Luckily, we achieved 300 invoices per day. However, it's still not good enough. And then we decided to implement the invoice agent, which is we can actually, this is not the maximum that we can achieve. We can actually achieve more with more agents again. So The results are the same: faster, larger volume, and higher quality. And I'm about to give you a demo of the invoice extraction now. So Tấn, please help me. So here's an NNN invoice, which is, so don't be scared of the complexity, because what I want to say here is that this workflow can be easily regenerated by AI, because we build an agent, specific agent for regenerate the NAN workflow. So if in case that we need to change something, it's very easily done. All right. So you need to care about the picture now. So could you please go open the landing zone? So we have the landing zone where the CV, not the CV, but the invoices will enter the landing zone, and then we trigger the workflow. So we have a limited time here, so that could you please go to the drop zone again? So we already upload a few ones at the demo, and then after the AI process all the invoices, we as the, let's say, the stakeholder, the finance team will receive the message in Slack channel. So could you please open the Slack channel? So here is the result of the scanning. And as you can see, that is all the information needed for the invoice extraction. Some of the invoices are not really invoice, it's receipt, but in Vietnam, we separate receipt and red invoices. So we only record the red invoices so there's another one. Yeah, the first and the second, you can see that they are the view sheet. So could you please open the sheet? So the sheet is we record all the invoices that we recognize that is exactly the invoice with all the information. And yeah, you can see here. And based on that, the finance team can process further the next step for these invoices with all the characterization. Yep. I think that's pretty much it for.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, but I remember that I gave you when Jung suggested to me that we would show that, I said this is kind of lame. So I gave him some Thai invoice receipt which I couldn't read, and you told me that works very well, right?
Yes, it's worked really well. Which one is Thai? Tấn? This one. So. This was actually the receipt because we based on the Vietnamese law. So this is basically the receipt, not the red invoice. So we categorize as the receipt, and we didn't put into the final sheet.
And the funny thing is that I didn't know what it is. So I just gave him something, and just now I see it as me drinking in Tavandang, which is a German brewery in Bangkok. If you want to go and have some beers, it's really recommended. But the interesting part here is that we realize that the manual process of taking the invoice, expenses, categorizing them takes a lot of time, and it's very, very easy about it. By the way, you have not spoken about costs. I'm pretty sure they're all not costs of us, but what are the AI costs, token costs for that?
Well, for the token cost, actually, so for the CV screening, we screen like, I think, thousands CVs already, but it's consumed like 20 or 30K tokens, which is not a lot. And it's like a few dollars in total. So it's not a lot because Lars already mentioned in the beginning speech where we now the consume token is now really, really low. And if we leverage AI in the right way, we implement it in the correct way, which is like we only scan the one that we not yet scan, then we can save the token. And absolutely, when we change the prompt, you can also optimize the consume tokens.
Thank you, Jung, for your support here. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Thank you, everyone.
It looks not really dramatic. It's very, very little and very boring. but it makes a huge difference. So we are currently working for a client where we're building a call center customer support AI solution. And it's a larger company. They have a lot of inquiries by email. And what the AI does is they need to answer 80% of the emails. They don't need to be perfect, and that's important. We Germans have a tendency to try to go for perfect solution. It's not necessary. 80%, and the AI needs to know, okay, this I can't answer, this I give to a human, and the rest I can answer automatically. And in this case, if you think about it, let's say the solution costs the end client $100,000 a year. But they can let go 80% of their customer support agents and save 250,000 a year. So there's a no-brainer. You don't need to think about it. Everybody would say like, yes, count me in, I want that. And the same goes for tax, for invoice in our case, because we are growing the finding and screening the right people, and HR was our biggest pain. And then the next is tax, and the very next thing is our sales department, which we're going to automate. And I also want to, because I see some people of the HR department sitting here in the audience, I also want to make very clear what I said in the morning, because what we automate is the CV screening. That does not mean we let go our TA team, but they can focus on talking to the candidates. They can focus on doing what only a human can do, but they don't need to scan CVs. And I also want to make very clear, I'm absolutely convinced that the AI is better in finding better candidates. Because if you screen 300 CVs a day, what the typical HR person does, they check boxes. They're like, okay, here's the requirement, 3 years of that experience, 2 years of that, yes, no, no, out. But because they have the time pressure, they don't use transfer thinking, where they are like, hey, okay, the experience is not there, but potentially that person could fit somewhere else. So I give you an example. One of our best employees had been declined in the CV screening process because she did not have experience as a digital project manager. When I looked at the CV, I was like, that lady did run a production plant in China. That is impressive. A digital project, it's much easier. She will not have any problems with running a digital project. And that was true. She's with us for many years now and really good. So, okay, so what's next? What we are doing, and I just want to announce that, and maybe you're interested. So we have two things. So first of all, we want to run our company a little bit better. I don't know if any one of you has heard of the Entrepreneur Operating System. This is kind of processes and structures how you can run a business better. There are other systems, but we want to automate that because it's very dry and very boring, and we want to do it also in a cool AI way. And my favorite topic, I'm so sick of my bills I pay to HubSpot. This is like ridiculous what we pay there, and in the end, we use maybe 5% of the functionality, and this is a huge amount. And we already did some tests, and I'm pretty convinced that within weeks, 2 months, we will be able to develop our own CRM solution to replace out HubSpot. It's like we pay, I think I can share it, around 47,000 euro a year for HubSpot. It's a lot in Vietnam. That's at least 2 to 3 engineers for the whole year. So I think we can do that, a better solution, which we then for sure also can offer our clients or other companies. I talked to some people, they are like, oh, I'm interested. This is something which sounds interesting. So if you are also sick of your HubSpot or Salesforce invoices, maybe we should talk. And if I might make one side comment, if you're investing on the stock market, I would not invest in these companies for the next couple of years. I don't think that they have a golden future. There will be a huge shift. And I don't know if you followed what happened just 2 days ago. Anthropic announced a new tool, not for developers, but for office workers like us. And that shattered the stock market. Just within a day, there was a massive drop on a lot of technology shares because everybody's scared what AI is going to automate. And this is exactly what you're seeing here. And again, this will not cost millions of dollars. And in the end, if I pay, let's say, $50,000 a year for HubSpot, let's say I invest $100,000, that's okay, because within 2 years, I will have it, I build IP, and we can make a much better software which is targeted to our needs. The key here is that, and I repeat what I said in the morning, is that we decouple growth from cost. Because in the past, growth is more people. And more people, as you know, is also more headache, more mistakes, more worries, and more complaints, and more salary, and so on and so on. So if we can decouple and we really focus on having the best people in our company, and then actually move forward with AI, we can grow without actually adding more headcount. Think about it. We process, instead of 300 CVs, 700 CVs a day with the same team. And I remember the times when we had like a super growth where I had to add like 50 people within 3 months. And my team said, yeah, but then we need double or triple the TA team. Because manually, you need a lot of people very quickly. And now we don't need that anymore. So, what have we learned? And where are we right now? So very first is, you need to clean your data. I'm 100% sure, whatever you think, wherever you work, your data won't be clean enough or structured enough to move forward with AI. Then you identify the areas where you have a high impact, wherever the pain is the biggest. It might be completely different in different industries, and then start with a small agentic project. You also need to expect friction, and for that you need to deal with the people. There will be pushback. You need to talk to the people and make clear what you will automate, what you will not automate, where is the no AI soon, and that you will retain them. Because my example for the customer support people, this is really good for the company, but for sure not so good for the 80% of customer agents which will be let go. However, the 20 best percent will be retained. So this is also a good motivation for the people. You just need to be really good in your job. Your job is safe. And then also think about your assets, and you don't really, the time where we need to buy software and pay more and more to SaaS. So I find it ridiculous. We are a fairly small company, but even us, the amount I pay for SaaS tools, HubSpot, Google, Slack, Expensify, Lever, whatever it is, I think it's more than $500,000 a year. It's a lot of money for a company of our size. And if we can cut that in half, that would be huge. That would be a big, big, big win. Because that's all margin, or we can reduce even our prices. So, and talking also about us, so the important is that you replace people, which is linear costs, with agents, which is non-linear. And we learned already that a couple of dollars, I mean, honestly, 400 CVs more a day, and it costs me like $2-3 a day. I don't need to think about that. All right, thank you. I think before you run up here, I think we have a little bit of time for questions. Do we have any questions? Come on, make my life difficult. Some difficult question. Or I should ask you questions. I should ask you questions. What should I ask you? Which industry are you? Healthcare management, okay. And where would you say is your biggest pain where you scale with people?
I think one of the pain point that as the owner or even the C level in the company is facing we have a loss of data. It's coming from sale, marketing, shop, or even a point of sale location. But how we can really synchronize and also make it become more meaningful. So I think come back to your system, I think is really applicable for us as well and a lot of other industry. And I think the big question is how we can really use that data in a meaningful way and also more in terms of the cost efficient way.
Absolutely, thank you for that comment. This is also one of the patterns we see a lot. There is a huge amount of official or shadow IT where people use certain AI tools, GPT or whatever they like for their daily work, but the systems are not connected. In the worst case also, you're violating compliance with the data. So there's a huge topic here, and this is exactly what you can address with this workflow, where the workflow connect different tools, take the data from here, put it there, does something with it, and put it there, and then give you an end result. So that's absolutely possible. One more question over there. Here, the handsome gentleman with the blonde hair.
So I think connecting to your talk this morning about AI, you also had like the stat of how many AI projects fail. So what would you say, what is the difference in the approach that Agentic OS goes right now compared to maybe why other companies fail at it?
Good. Thank you for that question. The answer is the agentic projects are super small. They're in one department. They tackle exactly one specific business problem. They are not solving everything in your company. You would just decide, this is my biggest pain. Let's start there and let's only do that. And everything else comes later. And then there is the saying, how do you eat an elephant? Do you know the answer? How do you eat an elephant? Come on. Bite by bite, exactly. And a lot of AI projects fail because they try to get the elephant in once. And when you said, like, I have just this problem, and then you have pretty much to do only with 2-3 people in one department, and you solve it, and you see the effect, and you save some money or earn more money. And then you're like, okay, then let's do the next. And then you do the next and the next and the next. And that's the difference, the key difference. So very slowly and very specific. All right, so thank you for listening and thank you for being here after lunch. Really appreciate it.